So this is an exhibition called The Imaginary Machine, and I'm the curator, Wendy Welch, and I came up with this idea for the exhibition because I love looking at diagrams of machines. I always like how clean and simple and how there's a kind of purity of thought. They're just done for that purpose. And so I started thinking about, in art history, different artists who have used the idea of inventing machines, such as Leonardo, and then Yves Tangle's self-destructing machine. And also, there's a series of drawings that Eva Hess did where they're kind of like imaginary machine parts. They're quite abstract, but they're machine parts. So I thought, I wonder what it'd be like if I just asked artists I know if they could make a machine for the show. So it's a different kind of premise where you're getting artists to make work for the show. And so it was quite a process, because a lot of the artists were like, oh, I'm not sure if I can do it, but they all came up with something. So I can just go around and tell you a little bit about each piece. But I'd also like to mention that there's an artist talk. Each of the artists are going to talk about their work, and that's on November 13th at 1 o'clock, and then at 3 o'clock is a drawing workshop where people could get to draw machine parts, and there'll be 2 facilitators, and it's open to everyone. So really good way to come and see the show, hear about the artists, and then get to make your own imaginary machines. So the first work I'm going to talk about is Zane St Philip. So his piece is called 6,571. And that describes how many different combinations there are, color combinations. So Zane is known for his color theory classes, and so he wanted to create a machine that people can create their own paintings. So with this machine, you could turn the colors. So this is one of the schemes. The blue is to do with the ocean. Then there's another color scheme which is to do with earth. And then the third color scheme is the calypso. But you can mix and match, so you can see the calypso. So sort of playing around with the idea of this really manual technology, because we know that on a computer you can get infinite, but this was his way of creating a machine based on something that he's really interested in, which is color theory. So we'll go to Robert Ude's piece. So this is a piece that changes color. It's on an automatic timer, so there's 30 seconds of just as it is, and then after the 30 seconds there's different colors. So we'll just see that as we talk. And so they're just like vinyl decals, very ordinary material, and so he's interested in creating pieces that might look like they're a home decor object, but also a painting. And at first this piece that's on the bottom was in the piece, but then when he installed it, he decided to separate it and kind of taking up more space and making you think about the idea of action. So then this is Tyler Hodgkin's piece, and this is an x-ray of his own hand doing the OK sign. And so he has carpal tunnel and arthritis as a result of his day job. So he made a piece as kind of a machine in the sense it could move around. And this door was actually a door used by X-ray technicians to protect themselves. So they would get the patient set up for an X-ray and go behind it. So it's really, the whole piece becomes quite integrated because the found object and they're both related. And then Linda Gammon's piece, it's called Sure, and it's actually named after this printer, Sure Color. So she took a photograph of the thing she uses to print her photographs. And she took analog photographs and then blew them up to the actual size of the printer, then mounted them on foam core and created a new version of the printer. And so one of the things I think about a lot in terms of machines is how with machines today, you can never see what they look like inside. Like you would never open up this printer because it's just out of our league. But, you know, years ago, if a sewing machine broke, you look inside, or a car, you open up the hood. But now everything is like has microchips, which are out of our way of thinking. So here is this high-tech machine that she's kind of cut apart, and we could see all parts of it. So that's kind of an interesting way to think about the machine. And then I like how it kind of expands into space with the shadows on the wall. So she thinks of this as an installation more than a sculpture. And then next we're looking at Neil Mcclellan's drawings. And these are drawings of machine parts that he found on his family's farm in Quebec. And so they're kind of really worn out, rusted. You could really not tell exactly what kind of machine they were used for, but they do talk back to a day when you could see all the parts. Like you would see the gear and you could see how machines work. And so this piece doesn't have any moving parts like most machines, but I decided to include them because there is this kind of sense of, like the way he's painted, it's kind of like the paint is just dripping down. And so it feels like it's an action. So it kind of relates to this sort of movement or disappearing. And then the last piece is John Luna's. So John Luna built this piece from old paintings, and he wanted it to be in the shape of an old-fashioned camera with the bellows. So that's why it's in this configuration. And it's not in a machine in a sense there's parts that we could move, but there is the kind of illusion that, like, we know things can move, and they kind of, when you start looking in between, you could see like little scraps of notes, and there's like even like his notes are glued on. So it's kind of like an archive of things that happened in the past, and again alluding to that idea of a machine where we could see all the components. So that's something that kind of holds all the work together. It's like the idea of seeing machines and all their parts, and how that's something we're losing touch with a little bit. So the exhibition addresses this. So I really recommend you come and hear the artists talk about the work November 13th, 1 o'clock.